Microcasting for your city, Talkapolis.
From the family grocery hauler to fire-breathing racing engines, the one name you need to know is USA Motor and Machine, located at 51 Cleveland Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. Give them a call at 615-726-3725 or visit them online at www.usamotorandmachine.com. Today's show is brought to you by locally owned and operated Highland Rim Speedway. Highland Rim Speedway is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year with great short-track, door-to-door stock car racing in a safe, family-friendly atmosphere. Visit their website at highlandrim.com. Jeff Meeks and Chris Austin invite you to watch your favorite sports event at the Batter's Box at 43 Hermitage Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. The Batter's Box offers shuttle service to all Titans home games. It's a great place for friends to gather for the game and after the game. So check out the Batter's Box Bar and Grill, and thanks again for sponsoring the show.
Welcome to the Road to Cookeville. I'm Joe Williams, along with Tennessean sports writer Maurice Patton. And Maurice, the high school football playoff series now down to the quarterfinals. And this is a time when the folks who've been there before think it's an advantage. The folks who haven't been there before think that's an advantage. And all of them are thinking, oh my God, what next?
Everybody's thinking they've got an advantage, trying to work things to their advantage, but at the same time, it starts to get a little tight. The thing that everybody kind of preaches once they get into the playoffs at this point is wanting to be practicing on Thanksgiving, which is the big goal, particularly this week. Winners move into next week's semifinals, and we'll be practicing on Thursday, which is a big deal since there's only 4 teams in each class that'll still be doing that.
Practice on Thursday with the turkey, and then play that Friday night while everybody else has gone shopping or hopefully gotten it out of the way. Tell you what, let's go straight to the brackets and get started here. On the road to Cookeville, let's look first at Class A, where Cookeville will be at Greenback. Both of these teams, Maurice, 10-1. Cookeville beat Cloudland pretty easy, 38-14. Greenback blistered Copper Basin, 62-26. First time Cookeville's going to be on the road.
And they're going to a Greenback team that, as we were saying earlier, has been in this position before. Greenback's one of those perennial 1A powers that tends to get here and treats it as basically, this is what we're supposed to do. Now let's go from here.
Cinderella is on the road Friday night as Eagleville at 8-4 goes to Gordonsville. Eagleville got the huge upset on the road at #1 Moore County, 19-16 this past week on a last-second TD. Gordonsville, the #2 seed, eked past South Pittsburgh 14-13 in what was one emotional contest.
Yeah, exactly. Eagleville last year had the best year that they had since they started football. Went 10-0 through the regular season. I think they lost in the second round. Following up on that, and I don't think people really expected them because they had so many seniors on last year's team to come back with a performance like this, but they've gotten themselves into the quarterfinals, playing a Gordonsville team that's been ranked #1 in Class 1A for most of the season. So Eagleville, as Cinderella's, kind of got their work cut out for them. Hopefully the clock won't strike midnight this week.
So keep that glass spike with you if you can. Nashville Christian, this is another one that's really got some interest here in the area. They've got to travel to Collinwood. Now, NCS upset #2 Clarksville Academy 24-0 on the road last Friday night. Collinwood, a #1 seed, but they struggled, beating Joe Burns 14-12.
Nashville Christian's gotten on a little bit of a roll here toward the end of the regular season, and they've continued it into the playoffs. They played back-to-back games against district rivals. They're finally stepping away from teams that have been familiar with them, getting a good Collinwood team that, again, is a program that has been at this level for a while. But I kind of like what Nashville Christian's doing with Jeff Brothers over there, and they've got a nice running game with Philip Booker, who is a defending state sprint champion in track. So guys got 1,500 yards going into this weekend. So obviously they're a ground-oriented bunch over there.
Eagles 10-2, Collinwood 9-2. Final game in the quarterfinals in the Class A bracket. Huntington, boy, they got something going out in the West State. 10-2 versus 9-2 West Carroll. Huntington killed #2 seed Union City on the road, 63-27. Put 63 on them. West Carroll cruised by Halls 28-13.
We talked last week about the bye in 1A and 2A and how you handle that and whether whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage. Union City was the number 2 seed, did not play the first round, and I wonder how much of that was the bye situation, kind of getting back into things, and how much of that was just running into a really good, really tough Huntington team.
We're going to find out this Friday night. Let's go to Class AA here in the state, where Chattanooga Boyd Buchanan at 11-1 will be on the road at 10-1. Knoxville Grace, Boyd Buchanan won last week at Oneida 21-6. Grace eased past Silverdale 28-20. And when we talk about Knoxville Grace, we continue to talk about the emotional story there.
Exactly. Will McCamey getting hurt late in the regular season, suffering a head injury for them, and Mr. Football candidate set to go to Navy next year. Obviously, this team wanting to extend their season as long as they can for him. He's not going to play the rest of the year, but they want to do as much as they can and accomplish as much as they can and honor him and keep things going as a senior who has meant so much to that program.
Doesn't hurt he's coach's son.
That's always helps.
That's always helpful. Marion County is 9-2. They'll be on the road at Friendship Christian. Friendship 10-1. This is the perfect bracket. Number 2 on the road at number 1 seeding wise. Marion County handled Trousdale 48-21. Not many teams have done that over the years. While Friendship had an easy time with Cascade 42-6. This may be the game of the week in AA.
This is a good matchup. I like this a lot. Friendship Christian, the defending champion in 2A. Marion County, as you said, the number 2 seed, beat Trousdale last week. Trousdale's been a little bit down. They've kind of had some injuries. Probably wasn't one of their better teams this year, but Marion County, coached by a guy who a lot of people around here are familiar with, Mac McCurry, who was at Moore County for a long time. I think he won a state championship down there. So he's back at it. And Friendship, fascinating situation in that their quarterback, they kind of played quarterback by committee last year. All of those guys graduated. Guy walks in off the street who had run and thrown for 4,600 yards and 63 touchdowns as a sophomore in Pennsylvania last year. Says, Coach, my name's A.J. Long, and I want to play ball for you. All he's done is throw for about 1,800 yards and 30-something touchdowns with 1 interception all year, and had about 500 yards rushing. And he's probably given them better play at the quarterback this year than they got last year when they won the state championship, and he's obviously got them in the hunt to repeat.
Sounds like they got a prayer answered. Loretto 8-3 on the road at Adamsville. This is another one of those 1-2 battles. Loretto beat White House Heritage 21-7 to advance. Adamsville mauled Mount Pleasant 56-6 to end their season.
And tough situation for Mount Pleasant. The personnel changed in an off-field situation about a month or so ago. Loretto has been a team that has really struggled the last few years. Their enrollments dropped off, their talent levels dropped off. See them kind of get back and get to the quarterfinals is a big accomplishment for that program. Adamsville, say that 3 times fast.
Exactly.
Adamsville got to this level last year, and I just think that for Loretto, not having been to this point in such a long time, I think that's really going to make a difference in this matchup.
Final quarterfinal matchup in this group. Peabody 9-3 has to travel to Dresden 10-1. Now Peabody upset number 2 Westwood 40-12 last week. Dresden stopped Trinity Christian, a pretty good little squad, out of Jackson 35-22.
This is one of those matchups that kind of goes under the radar, but a couple of schools from neighboring counties out there in West Tennessee. Dresden from up around Martin.
And then Weakley County, I think.
Weakley County, exactly. And Peabody's from Gibson County over there. A couple of small communities really take a lot of pride in their programs over there. Peabody's kind of a newcomer to this level. Dresden's kind of been around here on the 2A scene, and I think, again, that experience will probably make the difference.
We go to Class AAA, where Sullivan North 11-1 has to travel to Elizabethton 10-2. 1-2 battle. The team with the better record is actually the 2nd seed in this group. North beat West Green 35-7 last week. Elizabethton shut out Gallenberg Pittman 38-0.
I think North, even with their record, was a little underrated most of the season. Elizabethton got most of the ink coming out of the Upper East area, and Not real sure how this one's going to shake out, but obviously you got a couple of really nice programs that are looking forward to coming out of there and getting to the semifinals against a really good team.
Yeah, they're going to wind up, whoever wins that one will face the winner of the Christian Academy Knoxville Alcoa contest. Both of those teams 11-1. CAK beat Kingston 23-7. The Tornadoes stopped Sweetwater 49-14. Former Riverdale coach Gary Rankin still rolling towards the final. Still haven't answered that one question.
When you going to beat Maryville?
When you going to beat Maryville?
Yeah, but and the question may become when you going to beat CAK, because they beat CAK, gave them their only regular season loss, but that was the way it went last year as well. CAK returned the favor in the quarterfinals last year, went on to win the 3A state championship. So CAK is still in a position to repeat here if they can get past Alcoa.
All right. Game of the week to watch here. Somebody going home with undefeated records going in. CPA out of Nashville got to travel to Cheatham County, where the Cubs are also 12-0 for the first time in gracious knows how long.
Ever.
Best game of the week. Ever?
Ever.
I don't doubt that. Number one, number two, it's a loser-go-home fight. CPA had a little trouble with Westmoreland last week. They won 37-14. Cheatham County beat Fairview for the second time this year, 36-21. Here's where it's fun. CPA averaging 49 points per game in their playoff contest. Cheatham County averaging 52. This could be the offensive explosion of the year.
It's going to be a little bit of a shootout and two diverse offenses here. CPA tries to be balanced, likes to throw it around when they can, run it when they have to. Cheatham County, if they throw it 5 times, that's probably 4 too many for them. But it's going to be a heck of a matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and if you're going, you better get there early.
Better get there real early. They're up in Ashland City, and there's a couple of pretty easy ways to get there. Beautiful drive if you go up Highway 12, as a matter of fact. Final game in this category, Hickman County went through county rival East Hickman 13-7 last week. For that, they get to go to Milan, which cruised past Camden 39-14. Hickman County 8-4, Milan 10-2. Hickman County, I guess, the Cinderella of Class AAA.
To a degree, I think. I don't know that anybody really expected Hickman County to come this far out once they got into the playoffs, but they benefited from playing a couple of District 12 AA rivals that they had already played earlier in the year. Beat Lewis County in the opening round, like you said. Beat county rival East in the second round. So they get to go down to Milan and catch a team that played in last year's 3A finals. Might be a little bit of a situation where you could have some stage fright anyway if you're Hickman County, just having not been here on this stage for quite some time. And Milan, again, as we said, really a battle-tested program out there.
And that's the way the top 3 classes shape up right now, 1, 2, and 3. When we come back, we'll take a look at Class 4A, Class 5A, Class 6A, and both the Division II ranks. But we'll look at that here in just a second. Thank you for being with us here on the road to Cookeville. We'll be right back.
Microcasting for your city, Talkapolis.
From the family grocery hauler to fire-breathing racing engines, the one name you need to know is USA Motor and Machine, located at 51 Cleveland Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. Give them a call at 615-726-3725 or visit them online at www.usamotorandmachine.com.
Microcasting for your city, Talkapolis.
Welcome back, everybody, to the road to Cookeville. Joe Williams, Tennessean sports writer. Maurice Patton, my special guest. Got to say a special thanks, by the way, to our friends out at the Batter's Box at 43 Hermitage Avenue. Look, if you're trying to find a place to watch your favorite sporting event, the Batter's Box is the place to be. Maurice, we left off at 3A. Let's take a look at 4A. Let's take a look at the brackets while we do this. Opening game at the top out of East Tennessee. 10-2, Knoxville Fulton on the road at Livingston Academy. Livingston Academy 11-1. Now, Fulton won its 34th straight home playoff game last week after all these years. But they got to be on the road. They beat Greenville, a former state champ, 42-14. Livingston Academy, not a lot of trouble with DeKalb County, 37-14.
You know, I had a chance to see Livingston Academy when they played DeKalb County the first time in the regular season finale. Really impressed with that bunch. Really tough quarterback, the dual threat Brock McCoy, nice running back in Creed Hayes, but what really impressed me was their defensive front and the way they get after folks, particularly quarterbacks. So I think it looks like Fulton's been putting up some points, and I would imagine they've been throwing the ball a little bit to do that. So their guys in the trenches better bring a sack lunch because it might be a long night. I really like this Livingston team. I'm really impressed by them.
Winner of that contest will face the winner of the East Hamilton versus Giles County matchup. East Hamilton 11-1. The folks down at Giles County undefeated 12-0. 1-2 matchup. East Hamilton 35-14 winner last week over a very good Page team. And congratulations to the Patriots for what they've accomplished this year. Giles County rolled over Chattanooga Notre Dame 47-7. Mo, that's a score that those of us who've been around a while probably find a little shocking.
The way Giles County's been putting up points this year, though, I'm not sure how shocking it is. They've got a really nice passing combination with quarterback Al Cobb, who is another one of those guys who has been pinpoint accurate all year. I think he's thrown for like 35 touchdowns, 1 pick. And his favorite receiver has been Kenton Baker. Got 70 catches, 1,200 plus yards. So they can be lethal in the passing game. East Hamilton, I wasn't so much shocked at the win over Page, but the way they did it, especially in light of the fact that they lost their top running back in the Marshall County game, Logan Jackson. They kind of went running back by committee, but Lamont Greer turned out to be the chairman of the committee. 183 yards, 2 touchdowns in the win. So they're not rolling over just because of a key loss here, apparently.
On the bottom half of this bracket, 2 Cinderellas, you might say. Liberty at 8-4, going to White House, 7-5. Don't let the 7-5 record fool you. White House, number 2 seed in this bracket, and they're coming off a 23-22 win over a very good Maplewood team. Liberty got here averaging 45 points a game, and White House has only given up on average in the playoffs 16. This ought to be what we used to call a Slobberknocker.
Absolutely. You know, when you think old school around here, White House is one of those teams that you come up with. They've been on the postseason scene for quite some time. Jeff Porter's always done a great job up there, and there's nothing finesse about them.
They're going to line it up and run it.
They're coming straight at you, so you know where they're going to be. It's almost one of those situations where they say, we're going to run it right here, stop it if you can. And so that'll be Liberty's challenge, I think.
Final game in this group, the winner of the Liberty-White House game will get to face the winner of the Memphis-Trezevant-Covington contest at Covington. Trezevant 10-2, Covington undefeated 12-0. The number 1 Trezevant upset the number 1 seed in Mitchell out of Memphis, 36-6 last week. Covington blitzed Sheffield 42-6.
Covington made it to the semifinals last year, lost over at Maplewood last year, but they got a lot of those folks back, particularly in the running game. The kid, I can't think of his first name, last name's White, but he's the key to their running game. Trezevant was in the finals 2 years ago, lost to Greenville.
In an ugly contest.
In more ways than one, but they've got, obviously they've got a little bit of a pedigree. So this is an interesting matchup here in the quarterfinal round.
Let's go to Division 5A, where we'll start again in the East State at the top of the bracket. And that's the 5A bracket where Tennessee High, 8-4, travels to 11-1 Powell. Tennessee High, a number 6 seed. They've upset number 3 Daniel Boone. Last week they upset number 2 Morristown West. They got one more in them?
It's tough to say. Powell was in the 5A finals last year, lost to Henry County. Underwent a coaching change. Former MTSU receiver Matt Lowe had been the head coach over there. He decided to step down to spend a little bit more time with his family, and apparently the Panthers haven't exactly missed a beat. In addition to losing Lowe, they also lost a running back, Dashawn Mobley, who had set a single-season record in Tennessee with 3,000-plus rushing yards.
Wow.
So they've reloaded pretty nicely. Does Tennessee High have one more in them? Tough to see it if Powell has been able to stay the course to this point and playing at home against a team coming down from Bristol. I think Powell's probably going to hang on for one more week.
If Tennessee High pulls that off, they will face the winner of the Ooltewah Columbia game. That's the other half of this bracket. And if either one of these two teams, if Tennessee High wins, I'm going to be nervous if I'm them. Ooltewah 9-3, got to travel to Columbia. Good mid-state contest here. Ooltewah manhandled number 2 Lenoir City last week. I saw them last year, and they're a pretty doggone good football team. They beat them 31-7 on the road. Columbia advanced by stopping Tullahoma 47-24. The Lions are looking for one more trip to the big contest.
Exactly, and I think they are still kind of motivated by their first round loss in last year's playoffs after winning the state championship in 2010, finishing a state runner-up in 2009. So these seniors have been to the mountaintop a couple of times and trying to get back one last time before they move on.
In the bottom half of the bracket, Clarksville Northeast at 9-3 travels to 12-0 Beach. This is the game of the week in 5A, no doubt in my mind, as good as that Columbia game's going to be, as it's Jalen versus Jalen. Northeast won a track meet with Centennial last week, 49-34. Beach knocked off Hillsboro, 35-6. In all honesty, Maurice, is this not potentially the state championship game?
It could very well be. It's a shame that they're meeting this early. It really is, because you've got a couple of really great ball clubs here. Beach, as you said, 12-0. They've been ranked number 1 in 5A all season, led by junior running back Jalen Hurd, who was on track to break that single-season rushing record that we just talked about a second ago before he had a shoulder injury late in the regular season, sat out a game, had limited carries in another couple of games, starting to kind of round back into shape. Northeast comes in, as you said, with Jalen Reeves-Maben, who is a UT commitment. All he did last week in the win over Centennial was rush for 338 yards and 4 touchdowns on 17 carries.
Let me tell you who you better watch out for when it comes to Clarksville Northeast. And if you key on Maben, they got a kid by the name of Jerome Jones who will burn your butt.
It's kind of a thunder and lightning
really
combination there. It really is. Jones lines up at the fullback, and he's the sledgehammer back there. I tell you, it's they've got a nice little attack with those two.
You expect the fullback to be a little bit slow? Nah, this kid's not. I got to see him last week. All right, on the bottom half of this, by the way, to the other 6 teams calling this the state championship game, I apologize. Just personal opinion. There's at least 6 teams that would disagree with us as this being the game. Ridgeway 9-3's got to go to Jackson Northside. Northside 12-0 on the season. Ridgeway 9-3. It's a 1-2 matchup as Ridgeway beat Craigmont. Northside got past Memphis Hamilton. The winner gets to face the Beach Northeast winner.
As you said, Northside 12-0, number 1 seed. They were ranked number 2 all year behind Beach, and got a quarterback, Adam Craig, who is also a pretty good baseball player, if I recall correctly. So they've got some athleticism in the backfield, and they put up a lot of points here in the last couple of weeks. Ridgeway is a team that's also put up a lot of points, not just in the playoffs, but all season long. So expect this to be a defensive matchup.
This ought to be, yeah, no kidding. This ought to be a great one. Yeah. All right, tell you what, we're going to get our final break of the day in. When we come back, we'll look at Division 6A and both the Division 2 brackets. That's coming up next with Maurice Patton. Stay with us on the road to Cookeville.
Microcasting for your city, Talkapolis.
Today's show is brought to you by locally owned and operated Highland Rim Speedway. Highland Rim Speedway is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year with great short track door-to-door stock car racing in a safe, family-friendly atmosphere. Visit their website at highlandrim.com.
Microcasting for your city, Talkapolis.
To the road to Cookeville, I'm Joe Williams, along with my special guest, Maurice Patton from the Tennessean newspaper. And speaking of special, got to give a special shout out to our friends at USA Motor and Machine. They're over on Cleveland Avenue. Now, from your daily driver to your racing car, whatever you need engine-wise, the folks at USA Motor and Machine can take care of you. Go see them, if nothing else, on their website. Now, Maurice, when we left, we were getting ready to go to Class 6A, and this is when it starts to get real interesting. Let's take a look at the top half of this bracket to start. Kingsport Dobbins Bennett 12-0 on the road at Maryville 12-0. That means somebody undefeated is going to get the first one, and it means go home.
Yeah, it's a tough situation to be in. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, whether you would rather get that loss earlier in the year than get into a position where you're going to suffer your first loss and it be your last game right here. And, you know, Dobyns-Bennett's kind of been in this position before. They've run off some really nice seasons up in that area. And just the way the brackets fall, they've typically run into this same roadblock. Maryville's been doing what they're doing now for quite some time. George Quarles has put together a nationally recognized program up at Maryville, and defending state champs in 6A. I think it's going to be kind of tough for Dobyns-Bennett to extend that win record here tonight, this week.
I think Maryville currently holds the longest winning streak again in the state. Is that right?
That sounds right. I don't know who would be longer.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the bottom half of the top half of the bracket, you follow that, the bottom of the top? Yeah, forget about it. It's a bikini thing. All right, Riverdale, 9-3, on the road at Siegel. Here we go again. This has been the district battle to get to the state championship. If there's any doubt Rutherford County is the toughest football district in the state, this should take care of any of those arguments, top to bottom. They've got the toughest district in the state. Riverdale advances. They beat McMinn County 31-6. They get a shot at Siegel, who's 12-0. Siegel beat another member of their district, Blackman, 40-10. What a group.
Exactly. You know, Siegel, as you look at their path to this point, they beat Oakland in the first round. District 7 AAA. They beat Blackman last week, another district team. And it's really kind of sparked further debate about the fallacy of this playoff system as it currently sits. When you can advance to the semifinals and not see anybody outside your district. And it's really kind of a tough path to have to take, just getting ready for folks that have already seen you once. And we've seen it play out in a couple of other brackets as well, where folks saw district rivals in the first couple of rounds, but not to this point, I don't think.
Not all the way.
Yeah.
The winner of that game will get to face the winner of the Brentwood and Mount Juliet contest. The Bears, the Bruins, both 11-1. This should be a pretty good pound them out quick kind of game. The Bears eliminated Dixon County 39-10 on the road. Brentwood ended the season for the last Metro Nashville team standing. They beat Overton 31-14.
Yeah, and this you mirror images on both sides of the ball. Both of them run wing T on offense. Both of them run 3-4 on defense, and both do it awfully well, obviously, as witnessed by those matching 11-1 records. Like you said, this should be a quick night. Neither of them throws the ball a whole lot. I think Mount Juliet probably is better equipped to throw it than Brentwood is, and that might be the difference when it all shakes out. But neither of them likes to throw it a whole lot. They're not going to throw it a whole lot. So the one that can get the big play in the passing game may be the one that has the advantage when it's all said and done.
Brentwood using a pair of quarterbacks, and when they really need to, they just hand it off to Ben Green, the touchdown machine, and off he goes. The kid's actually pretty good. We go to the bottom half of the bottom half. Germantown, 9-3, got to travel to Whitehaven, 12-0. Germantown got a gut-wrenching 24-23 win over Millington last Friday night. Whitehaven shut out Southwind 54-0. Maurice, Whitehaven may be the most dangerous 6A team to come out of West Tennessee in a long time. Their average margin of victory in their first set of playoff games, 44 points.
Yeah, if they're not the most dangerous, they're certainly the most talented. Just SEC talent all over the field, starting with the running back Mark Dodson, who's a Mr. Football finalist, I do believe. Lost a lot of seniors off last year's team that went to the 6A finals. So they're a tested bunch. They've been here. Germantown is another team, another program from the Memphis area that has traditionally been in this position. So this ought to be a good ball game out there.
Ought to be a very good ball game. Let's go now and look at Division II. This is basically the private school division, if you will, and their Class A. And this is where it gets to be fun. Donaldson Christian Academy, 8-4, got to travel to Knoxville to face Webb, the Wildcats. Upset number 1 seed University School of Jackson, 21-20 to make the finals. Webb dispatched Harding Academy, 49-21. The Wildcats going from West State now to East State with a chance to play, hopefully, in the championship game. They'll get next week off if they win this one.
Yeah, that's the thing about these brackets in Division II. both your semifinal winners in both A and AA take a break next week and then come back and play the following Thursday.
They get to eat a little extra turkey, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. And like you said, Donaldson Christian having to go out to University School of Jackson last week, pulled off the upset 21-20. Now they're going in the opposite direction on 40. Been a bit of an up and down season for DCA, but the quarterback has done a really good job for him, Will Reddick, and that's who's going to have to lead them in this one past a loaded Webb team that I don't think they made it to the finals last year, but
should have.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have.
Exactly. So they've got a little extra focus, a little extra motivation this time around.
I would love to see this next game myself, to be quite honest with you, because I think St. George's has only one thing on their mind, and that is revenge. Now, we're going to have to go down to Memphis to see this, but St. George, 11-1, travels to 5-6. Yes, losing record. Evangelical Christian School, ECS, the #1 seed in this part of the bracket because they won the right game. They beat St. George. The group is so small. When we talked about this, Maurice, when we started the road earlier this year, St. George is thinking only about whatever mistake they made, erasing that and pounding ECS.
Yeah, I mean, motivation shouldn't be an issue for the St. George's coaching staff this week at all. Playing a team with a sub-500 record that they just happened to slip up against, it was their only loss of the season, and having to play on the road in the semifinals, defending state champs in Division 2A. This could be ugly, I think.
It's kind of what I'm afraid of. To be real honest with you, that's what I am afraid of. Let's go and take a look at our final bracket of the week. That in Division 2 AA. Same situation here. These teams, when they win, will get to have next week off and eat a lot more turkey than most everybody else will, but I'll bet most of the coaches will still keep a good thumb on their kids to make sure they know where they are. We open up in Brentwood, where Memphis University School at 9-2 has to travel to Brentwood Academy. They're also 9-2. MUS beat Baylor 2014 for the right to come up here. BA had a little trouble with Briarcrest. They won 44-17. Maurice, Brentwood Academy's got to be very careful about not looking past this game to a possible rematch in the championship.
Exactly, and as close to that rematch as they are, and as close to the original game with Ensworth as they are, I'm sure it's still on their minds, but they got to take care of the business that's right there in front of them, and that's MUS. 20-14 winner, as you said, over Baylor last week. Played Ensworth close, 35-28 in the season opener, so this is a team that's fully capable of doing some good things and giving Brentwood Academy all they want Friday night.
I was going to say, do not sell MUS short by any stretch of the imagination.
And if the quarterback's name sounds familiar for MUS, they've got a signal caller by the name of Jordan Rogers, not to be confused with the guy over on West End. This Jordan Rogers is actually signing a baseball scholarship this week with UT.
Very good. Yeah. I hate quarterbacks. That's another story. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. Final game of the week we're going to look at is the final game in Division 2 AA. The Big Red of MBA at 9-3 will take the short hop down to Ensworth. The Tigers 11-0. Big Red went on the road last week, upset #2 Christian Brothers 36-21. That's a feather in their hat, I got to tell you. Ensworth smacked McCauley 37-7. The Tigers won the first matchup between these two 35-0. Is that right? 35-7. 35-7. Yeah. So it's not like they haven't seen each other. Can MBA stop the juggernaut? That's the question.
That's always the question when you play Ensworth, is being able to stop or slow down Corn Elder, and rarely has it taken place. It might happen for a little bit. It's kind of like the old Fram auto filter commercial. Yeah. You can pay me now or pay me later. But sooner or later, Corn's gonna get his, and so it's just a matter of trying to limit the damage he does. And if you can do that, then you got a shot. Very few have.
It ought to be a great week for high school football. Friday night is the night. Go out and see a game somewhere in your area, because the number of games are getting smaller and smaller. Your opportunity going to get away from you before next year. Now, we've taken as many steps on the road to Cookeville as we can to this point. We get down to the semifinals next week. In the Division 1 standings, we're semifinals for Division 2 this week. Coming up, we will have an update next week on who's in those final 2 or 4 that'll make it to Cookeville. So you want to be here and see what the last section of road holds as we go to Cookeville. For Maurice Patton, I'm Joe Williams. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Microcasting for your city, Talkapolis.